Hi, welcome to Laura's View and Tarot 2. I am so glad you're here. Today's date is Thursday, December 26th, 2024. I've been watching the news and I think President-elect Donald J. Trump is having a lot of fun with a note of seriousness added, talking about making Canada the 51st state, talking about how things with Panama, the Panama Canal specifically, have to change because they're unfair at this time for American shipping interests, the exorbitant fees that are being charged to us. And then there's also the Greenland fun. So I wanted to take a look today at the Panama Canal element of the items that he's throwing out there. Now, people say that President-elect Trump, doesn't have a lot of leverage with that topic, but I found some data that might argue the point, and we're going to ask the tarot cards for information, confirmation, and insights. So let's take a look at some information I found that kind of led me to think of, well, maybe he's got a little more position here than the mainstream wants the rest of us to know, and then we'll find out what the universe wants. So I'm going to take you to my Laura's View and Tarot 2 X account where I have a few things listed, and I'll have a link to that in the video description box for you. So let's go there and get this started. Okay, first article I found that I thought was rather interesting is this one at Liberty Nation. Says what everyone misses on Trump's Panama Canal pitch. I'm not going to read it all to you. You're welcome to read it yourself. He does mention one thing that all of these pitches that President-elect Trump has, whether it's regarding Panama or Greenland or Canada, is that they are starting points for a negotiation. And we know that Trump is well known as being the master of the art of the deal. Okay, so starting points of a negotiation. Let's make a comparison in our own lives. Have you ever had someone suggest something to you that seemed outrageous, and then you said, wait, are you serious? And then from there, you talked more in depth and maybe came to an agreement or decided it was a good idea or a good bad idea or whatever it might be. I've been in that position. Maybe you have too. Okay, so he's throwing these ideas out there. They're starting points for negotiation. Now, here's something, the Nicaragua alternative that's mentioned in this article. In Nicaragua, which is actually closer to the mainland United States, at one time they thought about building a canal there. It would have been longer, 75 miles. But just the fact that that's a possibility that could be out there to just give up on the Panama Canal and start building a second one so that there is intense competition for the shipping that goes back and forth. Powerful, powerful tool out there. Okay, so I highly recommend this article that was written. It's posted in the Liberty Nation News, and it was written by Mark Angelides. Or if I said that wrong, Mark, I'm very sorry. I don't know you. I just read it phonetically. Okay, now let's go back here because there's something we need to be aware of. And that is that the treaty concerning the permanent neutrality and operation of the Panama Canal, signed in 1977, do you realize it was a treaty that enabled Panama to assume control of the Panama Canal with the understanding that they would do so with fair access for all nations and non-discriminatory tolls, total neutrality, and also a total absence of other nations interfering in the operation. So this treaty remains active. Treaties can be considered null and void if the terms aren't honored. And President-elect Trump has made the point numerous times that those treaties are not being honored. Here is one Truth Social post he has where he mentions in part the situation with the canal. So he said when President Carter foolishly gave it away for $1, he talks about how it was not meant for China to or anyone else to be taking it over or assuming control or influencing the operation of the canal. Then he has another one where just in his Christmas greetings, he mentioned how China was involved with it. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to all the wonderful soldiers of China who are lovingly but illegally operating the Panama Canal. Okay, so the Panama Canal in 1977 with Carter was given to Panama to control and have authority over, but it needed to be their control and their authority, and they weren't supposed to give it away. It was supposed to be non-discriminatory. It was supposed to be a very neutral area. That treaty may indeed be found to be null and void because of actions or influences that other nations have had in the region. And so I want to ask the universe about that. And I'm really fascinated by the option of building a canal in Nicaragua so that there's competition between the two, because nothing helps fair market prices than competition. I know when I lived in Alaska, there was a local building firm called Spinar Building Supply, SBS. When we got in a couple of the big box stores that are hardware focused, we got Lowe's and Home Depot in. For some reason, after years of telling us prices couldn't be lower because it cost so much to ship to Alaska, SBS managed to lower their prices by over a third once there was some competition. So competition in free markets is very, very valuable. But I want to ask if there's going to be, if an item that's going to make the Panama situation negotiable is the fact that there's been some treaty hijinks. The treaty's been, how do we phrase that? That the treaty has not been honored and may indeed be to some extent null and void, plus additional insights, information the universe wants us to know. Let's switch the camera and find out a little more about what's going on with the Panama Canal, because as I said, out of those three international options that President-elect Trump is throwing out there, I think this is the one that has the most teeth to it, whether the mainstream media is acknowledging it or not. So let's see what the cards want us to know. I'm going to switch the camera. You can watch me work with the cards and we'll discover the answer together. So the yes or no element of this question is possible treaty violations with the Panama Canal Treaty going to be a factor in potential renegotiations or extreme changes in the shipping from Atlantic to Pacific via canals, including the possibility of building a second one. I love it. I love it. But we do have a yes or no element to this question. We'll find out if that treaty has possibly had some violations that make it null and void, and definitely potential to be renegotiated. And who better than oops, we got that jumped out. We have the Knight of Swords. Okay, so I'm going to set it aside, but again, this is a card of positive action and moving forward with plans, kind of a white hat type of card. So let's set it here where you can see it. I'm going to do a little more shuffling and we'll see in a Kachina knife spread what the universe wants us to know about the situation. But it does look like, yes, some negotiations would be going. If we just had a one card answer, I would interpret that as saying, yeah, there's going to be definitely some renegotiation in the favor of the United States of America. And the treaty violations are an element of it. That's why we're getting a yes. Okay, so we have the 10 of Cups. Cups hold fluid. We have King of Pentacles. We have the 8 of Swords. The Star. And look, more liquid. Strength. The 2 of Cups. And Death. Okay, I'm going to share the insights I'm getting with you as well. I've been blurting them as we go a little bit, but I'm going to go over these a little bit and show you what elements in each card kind of lead me to say that, because every card in a read has some information or meaning that can be gleaned. It varies in degree, but there's always something. So we never totally discount a card that shows up in a read. There's an element of it that needs to have a little bit of our attention and focus. So first of all, while we don't have a hard yes here, we do have some indications, as I said, even just with the Nine of Swords, that negotiations are going to happen. They're going to move forward on the part of the White Hats, and it was in answer to my question. The situation is the Ten of Cups, so there's nothing for us to be overly worried about. Any negotiations will be beneficial to all ages, all ages. And the art of the deal, King of Pentacles here, he's talks about sovereignty, and again, that's an element that may have been come into play with the treaty violations as far as the neutrality and non-discriminatory practices go. In the recent past, there's been kind of we've had to wait. We've had to wait until there's a change of administration, and we're still going to have to wait to see what day one and from there on happens. But we've had a waiting game as far as the canal. And look, here's a meandering pathway here. Those waiting days are coming to an end, and we're going to move forward again. The Supreme White Hat card, actually my 17 team card shows up with a 17 here with a star. And then moving forward, we're in a position of strength because of treaty violations. So yeah, the whole situation with the Panama Canal, including but not limiting ourselves to the option of working with Nicaragua to make a second canal and having some rate competition going on, is a possibility. The inside card of the Two of Cups here is why I'm saying there's a possibility that there could be an agreement with another country to build a second one. Even just the thought of that is going to take a lot of the steam out of the Panama government's stance on this. And then long, slow change is being indicated here. That canal has been for almost 50 years in the hands of Panama, and some changes are going to be made, like it or not. Let's get a few more cards for some information and see what further insights the universe has for us. Well, there's our yes. Okay, the basis for the renegotiation and looking at everything involved with Panama Canal involves treaty violations. Queen of Swords, truth and objectivity, justice, and Page of Swords, truth and diplomacy. So President-elect Trump is more than happy to pursue this diplomatically, but he's not going to back down. Justice will be had. So I love it. I love it. Thank you, universe, for such a great read. We got our yes. We've got just a cards, a lot of major arcanas here. So I was right that this is actually a strong talking point on the part of President-elect Donald Trump, a path he does plan to pursue, and quite successfully, and make some changes that are long overdue. So let's recap. President-elect Donald Trump has mentioned, among other things, that the situation with the exorbitant prices being charged in the Panama Canal for America, who not only contributes the bulk of the fees paid for passage there, but also contributes to the general upkeep of it, as we do with so many nations where we send them support and money. And he said, things have to change. It's the United States is getting an unfair deal there. Now, we also looked at some data that shows that in 1977, that Panama Canal was given to Panama to run via a treaty, but the treaty stipulated that it had to be done with outside interference and non-discriminatory. And so my question was, has there been demonstrable, provable treaty violations which would make that first treaty null and void at the most, or at least able to be renegotiated, plus additional insights and information? Well, it was a fun read. I'm not going to pull every card up here. I'm just going to give you the highlights. If you want the full read, you can back up a few minutes, okay? We got a yes. There have been provable treaty violations that are going to make this whole situation one that can be revisited, and it will be done so to the benefit of everybody who benefits from products that are shipped through those lanes. Absolutely. We're in a position of strength in that renegotiation, and it's going to affect some changes that have been on hold because of other administration's lack of focus on it. So their changes are overdue, but they're going to happen, and they need to happen. It's a matter of justice and rightness. And the we did have a card that jumped out as I was doing the dealing. It was the Knight of Swords, which, as I said, a lot of times when a card jumps, and not just several that come in a fumble, but one seems to kind of jump out, it's trying to give you an answer. And this told us right here that, yeah, they're ready to move full speed on this, and the cause is just. So we had kind of an answer there that was elaborated on in the read. And in the current, we have the star, just saying that the focus on this is moving things in the right direction, and it's going to be a very positive resolution where actually the country of Panama is not going to suffer from this change. They're still going to benefit from having the canal, and but they need to um, be assisted apparently in doing so in a non-discriminatory and without outside influences. So yeah, he's the art of the deal. Okay. Talking points, starting points for negotiation. And it looks like it's going to happen. One of the other things we looked at that wasn't an element of the read is the fact, just the historical fact that before the Panama Canal was built in Nicaragua, they thought about doing one there, which is 25 miles closer. Or I think it's 25 miles closer. It was definitely going to be a longer canal. That's why Panama ended up being where the canal was built. But that's still an option that might be out there on the table. And what better way to provide some jobs for people that might be encouraged to go south and enter our country legally with some job offers that may give them some bonus points in that process to do it legally. Wouldn't that be great? Plus, hopefully, there will be a lot of able-bodied people that are in agencies such as the three-letter agencies that'll be looking for work and might want to go build that second canal too. We have a lot of potential workers we could send down there. We really do. Okay, well, that's it for this video. I thank you so much for your time and your attention and your willingness to add in some rather esoteric sourcing for insights and information about what goes on in our world. And until next time, if you're willing to receive it, I send you love, light, and I wish for you everything bright. Bye.